I got to say, Pete, I messaged you this. I was disappointed in Newcastle, man. I thought you guys were poor. I really thought you was going to come to the Etihad, man, and make us properly work for it. And I know people will say it was only 1-0, but in terms of the game, I think we were so clear, man. And I don't know. I was disappointed. I really thought it was going to be so good. Starting, because we heard the news about all our players being injured. We basically had like no one on the bench. And I was worried, man. I thought, you know what? This could be the year that Newcastle finally beat City at the Etihad. And I thought you was poor, you know. And listen, I still think that you was an okay team and you were balanced in that. But I thought it was a real opportunity to, again, set another sort of statement out there like you did the week before against Billy's team. But, yeah, man, I just didn't see it. I didn't see it. I didn't see that creativity. I thought in midfield, Joe Linton. Our midfield, yeah. Because our midfield was it Rodri, Kovacic, and Foden. Yeah. I thought that midfield battle between them three and obviously yours, which was Bruno, Joe Linton, and Tonali, would have been a lot closer than it was. And I just felt that Tonali, I thought, was nowhere really to be seen in the game. I thought Joe Linton struggled as well. And yeah, I've got to say, man, I was disappointed. I really thought you guys was going to come and make it a tough game, and maybe we'd be talking about Newcastle in the title race. But nah, I thought you was poor, bro. I thought you was poor.
That's your talk. That's your talk. That's not ours. We're not talking like that.
Yeah, you don't have to talk about it, though, Pete. I'm saying that as a City fan, you know. I thought you was going to come to the Etihad Stadium and make us really work for it.
No, and that's what I was hoping for. Like on the Race for Europe last week, I said I'm excited about this game because I wanted to see how we were going to kind of approach it and how we're going to go for it. I thought we were going to be how you're explaining, and I think I said it on your channel as well. But there was a clear game plan. It didn't work, but we were still in the game. We still had chances, even at 1-0. We had opportunities. We created moments in the second half. It was poor decision-making that let us down. And I'm not going to bag on about individuals because on Newcastle social media, there's been a number of stuff been said about certain individuals. I've seen that. Yeah. And Bruno hit back today and then deleted it because, it's only a small section, but it is what it is. I'm not going to hold individuals to an account with regards to a performance against arguably the best team in the world right now. I'm not going to do that. I don't think any of our teams would do that the way that Man City are playing. But it wasn't the way I expected us to play. But there was a game plan there that potentially could have worked. You're right. The individuals that you mentioned that didn't have good games, they didn't have good games. But it's just one game. It's just one game. Some of those individuals that you've talked about were the catalyst to why we got Champions League football. And am I going to hate on them after one game? No. I fully expect those boys to hit back, and I fully expect them to be motivated and bang up for it, especially after the first game of the season against Villa. Like Villa hit back, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second. There's no reason why we can't hit back. And
there was a lot of ghost performances, though, wasn't there? There was a lot of players out there that I thought really should have stepped up to the big stage, and they didn't. They ghosted, man. They did, a lot of them. Now, I'm not saying it's just a major issue or it's a red flag, because it isn't. You come into the City Stadium, you know what I mean? Not many teams get anything from there, but I just feel that, did they lack something? Did they lack a little bit of courage, a little bit of spirit? And by the way, if the answer to that is yes, then that's not like an embarrassing thing, because like I say, it's difficult to come to somewhere like City and get a result, but I just felt that was a missed opportunity. That's why I'm saying these things. I ain't saying it to Cook. I ain't saying it to banter. I'm saying it because for me personally, and whoever else watched the game, I just felt that was a missed opportunity for Newcastle. That's why I'm saying it, bro.
I don't see it as a missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity, Pete. Of course it was.
Not for me. Not for me. Look, you're gonna see it that way because of the way the game was built up. We're 2 games in. We've had Villa. We've got yourselves. We've got Liverpool next. We've got Brighton away after that. We've got a tough start to the season. I don't see it as a missed opportunity. I see it as an opportunity to see where we're at as a team going to the Etihad, a team that we've already talked about. I can't even remember the last time we even won there. I think the last time we won there was probably when Alan Shearer was playing in 2005. We haven't won there for so long. But I agree with you. Certain players didn't play well. But I'm not going to hold them to an account. I'm not going to say, I'm really worried about how they performed in that game. I could equally arguably talk about the fact that Sven Botman was outstanding and actually kept Haaland in his pocket all game. and Fabian Schär and Kieran Trippier. In fact, the whole back five I thought were fantastic in that game, and actually limited you guys to very limited amount of chances in the game. I could also talk about that. But yeah, you're right. Certain players in the midfield, whether you talk about Joe Linton, Bruno Tonali, Isak was a little bit quiet, but he was very isolated. The gap between him and the midfield was massive, and he got overran by your centre-backs who were very, very good. I'm holding my hands up and saying those things happen, but that doesn't define Newcastle United. It doesn't. Right, we can quite easily go back, and I hope it's the case, and put Liverpool to the sword on Sunday. And if we do that, nobody
is that Liverpool? Is that our Liverpool?
Newcastle, no, it's St James's Park. So no, if we go and win on Sunday, nobody will be talking about the Etihad. It'll be gone. It'll be erased from memory, and then we can go on and kick on with the season. But for you, I think you'd kind of built up Newcastle going to the Etihad and all the rest of it around it. And I get that because of your injuries and all the rest of it. But in my mind, I remember you guys are the best in the world. You guys have got an elite squad of players. Yes, so many players aren't there and were injured, but you still had a team that on its day could probably beat any team in the Premier League. And that's the thing that I remember in my mind. And I'm looking at that, and that was the way it was. It's as simple as that. We could have caused you trouble. We should have caused you trouble. Certain poor decision makings were poor, but equally, look, it's not the end of the world for any Newcastle fan, and we move on.
Pete, just a dead quick one there. Lisa makes a good point in the chat. She says that you gave City too much respect. I think especially in that first half before the goal went in, I was watching. I thought defensively, the lads looked like he was all set to soak up as much pressure as possible. They looked really like switched on, which is always a good sign to see. I think, we'll probably touch on it, how contrast that is to a Liverpool defence at the minute. It only takes really one attack to kind of cut right through us. But you just seem to be dealing with wave after wave for so long. Do you feel that like trying to get the out ball was probably the problem for you on the weekend, and maybe that was too much respect and kind of relinquishing the ball and control to City just allowed them to kind of get into their rhythm a little bit? You didn't really do too much to disrupt their rhythm of play, if that makes sense.
In the first half, I would agree with you. Okay. Not in the second half. In the second half, we had more of the ball in their half. In the second half, we caused them more problems on the counter-attack. We had 2 or 3 really good openings where it was 3-on-2, 2-on-1 situations, and we just didn't make the most of them. We made the wrong decision. We on our channel, we talked about Callum Wilson. He goes through it, and I had it down as a great tackle by Gvardiol, but he could have gone to the right, and him and Miggy Almiron would have been clean in on goal. There was another one from Miggy who was clean in, and instead of going forward and going into the box, he turns back onto his left, which fans get frustrated about, and the move broke down. There were opportunities there for us in the game, and that was particularly in the second half that we didn't take hold of. That's poor decision making.
That second half of the game, think about where City had been midweek. It was Athens that you were at, LB. It was somewhere in Greece.
Greece.
Yes,
I'm not holding them to that, Errol. Like, you can talk about them being in Athens. They do it every week. Champions League.
Mate, they do. In that second half, those players. They're not able to change the squad as much at the minute as LB said with their injuries.
I'm not holding them to that. No chance.
But that's the reality.
They do it every week.
Players will themselves. They'll know they will have been running on fumes at some point in that second half. That was at
the beginning of the season, Errol. You're having a laugh, man. They've not even been deep into the season. You're telling me that Man City would have been blowing, having played in a Super Cup midweek when they're about to take on a Champions League, Premier League, Champions League, Premier League up until December. Those players are primed and prime and ready for that. They've done it. They've won the Champions. They've done the treble on the back of that. I'm not using that as an excuse. It might be an excuse.
They've had less rest than anyone else, and let's be real, this Man City, as we've seen, start slow usually in the league. We ain't seeing peak Man City. You didn't lose to peak Man City.
As LB said, he's been impressed with their start of the season. So maybe it's changing. I don't know.
Or maybe you were just shit. I'm just saying.
Lawless, I knew why you were coming in here. You were trying to chip in just to get a little bit of a rise. I get it.
No, Pete, because you know what? It's the positivity, the just relentless, and the fact that Dan or an Errol sat there and pointed at me about rose-tinted glasses. You are the rosiest of rose-tinted glass fans I've ever met, and you're spinning narratives and all sorts. I'm just saying, okay, right? You lost. A lot of people lose there, but come on, man. Let's just a bit of balance. Yeah.
So okay, so Lawless, I'll ask you.
Give it a go. Do you know what I mean?
Be honest with me. Now. What are you expecting me to say right now after that defeat?
You should have competed more. You should have competed more. That's what people are saying.
We didn't show ourselves to be the oil tycoons on the level of Man City. You know what I mean? You're arrived now. You're not little old Newcastle. You're not Mike Ashley Newcastle anymore. You know, the plucky underdogs. No, put that out of your mind. Yeah, you can't throw your chest out 1 minute and then put it back in the next minute. Once the chest is out, it doesn't go back in, mate.
Okay? My chest hasn't gone anywhere. This is the second game of the season, Lawless. Remember that. You might be
not asking you to have a meltdown and call for heads.
That's absolutely fine. But as you kept reminding us, week after week after week, it is a long season. Things can change over the course of that season. So I expect there'll be times that we'll be on this show this season that I'll be sitting here very, very happy, and you won't be. So I'll just remind you of that. I'll be very happy to remind you of that when the tide turns, maybe next week, maybe the week after. Who knows?
Yeah, but Pete, if you've got to beat Liverpool now, because if that midfield three, doesn't perform well against Liverpool at the weekend, then you got a serious problem because they got that midfield three ghosted. I think Isak didn't impress me at all. I think there's pressure on Newcastle to perform.
Because they won the Champions League 5 years ago, so Newcastle can't be expected to, be.
This is it.
This
midfield three is one of the best in the league, man. This midfield three is one of the best in the league. You got to start holding. I know it's only second game in, so I'm not grilling them too hard, but I'm saying if they ghost again against Liverpool, that's 2 games in a row against big teams they've ghosted against. You've got to hold them to higher accounts. I'm getting it. Yeah, this one game it's against the best team in the world. That's fine. But if it happens again against Liverpool, I do think genuine questions have to be answered because they were so poor, man.
I'll be the one to ask those questions. And we'll be on here next week and I will be asking those questions.
Clip that, Sam. Clip that.
If that's the case, you can clip it all you want. You've had plenty.
Pete, do you notice how I haven't said anything? Because last time this happened, you absolutely destroyed me with your brandy. So I've just kept well out of this.
To be fair, I've made my point on Newcastle. Like I say, LB's made a good point. You know, if they don't show up at the weekend and they equally have as bad a performance as they did on Saturday, then maybe that's.
I think LB's being harsh.
I'm not being harsh at all. Look at that midfield three.
Quickly go the other way.
No,
and that's what I'm saying.
Not fair.
That's
not a fair comment, man. I'm not.
It's one of them. It could be a very different situation.
Yeah, but LB, how many teams have come to the Etihad and you've walked over? Like our midfield, our whole team was pants over you.
You can't just keep on saying, "Oh, you go to it." The fact is, that team is one of the weakest Manchester City sides we've had in a long time.
What did you say last season, though? In order to beat this City side now, some of us teams are going to have to grab them by the scruff of the neck and we're going to have to pull them down to our level. So if that means for a game, you've got to pull them down to your level at Newcastle, or Arsenal got to pull them down to our level, or West Ham, I've got to hammer them. Whatever it's got to take in order to get them from City. No, but we've got to. Like, that's the reality. Otherwise, City will continue to do what they've done year in, year out. They will.
I get that, Errol. All I'm meaning is, listen, I didn't see how bad Newcastle were, how great City was, right? But all I'm saying is that anyone could. Man City beat them 1-0. They can beat anybody 4-0, 5-0. It's what Newcastle do in the next game for me. And if LB says they were shocking and they're shocking against Liverpool, then maybe we have a point. But I think we need to allow that to happen first. I think Tonali, Bruno G, and Joe Linton will have unbelievable games. I think there's a brilliant midfield there for me.
But do you know what it was like? It was like when one guy, these two men are the sugar daddies of the Premier League. Do you get me? That's what they do.
It's going to be another one of your analogies. We're going to have to
let me land it, because LB is used to the chip and pin. His payments don't bounce. Whereas poor Pete over here, he was trying to use contactless and he's not used to his black card yet. And that's what happened when he turned up at the Etihad. He turned up, he tried to buy the thing a drink, and he got declined. And that was it. He got sent packing. And that happens. It won't be the first time and it won't be the last. But just know going forward, you're going to have to be accountable for what's in the bank, Pete, and you've got to bring it in all the games because Lawless is there. He's already keeping receipts. Sam's clipping it. And if you're saying Liverpool, I think you mentioned Liverpool so many times, we're going to bounce back. Perfect time to bounce back. Liverpool it is, but we're not going to get rolled by just anybody. No, not anybody, and everybody's just going to roll us.
He's talking about you like you're Everton, you know. You've been downgraded to Everton, you know. Oh, yeah, perfect week, get it. Got Liverpool rolling up, yeah. Claims the loss with a nice little slapping of
Can I
Liverpool.
ask a question, Pete?
Come back to say, look. It's always an exciting game, whether it's at Anfield or at St James's Park. So it's always good. It's always, and this is what I mean. It's going to be a big game regardless. Both teams are going to go at it. I don't particularly think Liverpool are going to hold back. I think they're going to go for it, but I equally think that we're going to go for it. And that's why I say I think it's going to be an exciting game in a perfect way, that if we do get the win, it's a perfect way to hit back. And that was the point that I made. I'm not saying we're guaranteed the win. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying if we get that 3 points on Sunday, that's the perfect way to hit back. And the point that I made is that if we win on Sunday, nobody's going to be talking about, certainly Newcastle fans won't be talking about the Etihad. Everyone would have moved on by then. And the narrative changes, and it's very, very different to what people will be talking about Newcastle at this point. Like I've been at the Etihad. I was there when we were conceded a penalty after 50 seconds. Werner and Anita, we also got spanked 5-0. We've lost 6s there, 5s there, 4s there, 3s there. We've been
that's a different team, Pete. You can't keep on talking about that.
It is a different team. What I'm saying to you is that I've seen that. If it was that type of performance, I would completely understand what some of you have said on this panel. For me, like, it's not the end of the world. If we go on a run where we lose the next 3, 4, 5 games, then it's a different conversation.
I agree. It's not the end of the world. All I'm saying is City's team there, we played 2 days earlier in Athens. We had no players on the bench that was worthy really of coming on for that type of game. And in my opinion, it was an opportunity for Newcastle to really put a statement down. You got one of the best midfield trios in the division. Everyone knows how good your defense is as well. The midfield 3, in my opinion, ghosted. Alexander Isak ghosted. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm just saying it's a missed opportunity. And they, in my view, they need to now beat Liverpool. Otherwise, questions will be asked.
Opportunities come and go in the season, though. They just do. Villa had it last season several times when there was an opportunity for us to push into the top 5 or whatever it was. Opportunities come and go throughout the season. Losing to the best team in the world, whether it's the best team at the minute and that 11 that you put out is the best team in the world, obviously not. But you can't knock Newcastle for losing that game. And yes, it was an opportunity to go out and beat Man City and put up a statement performance again. But you're returning to St James's Park, the cauldron that is St James's Park, against the team that they're going to be up for it for. Eddie Howe's probably going to be getting into them and saying, show these fans what we should have done last week. And they'll turn up. 100% they're going to turn up. I don't think they'll steamroll Liverpool, because I don't think many teams can steamroll Liverpool. But I think they're going to put up a top performance. And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they did go out and win that game.